Nude art, it's one of the oldest, most celebrated, and yet most controversial subjects in art history. From ancient fertility symbols to modern deconstructions of beauty, the nude has always reflected humanity's deepest beliefs about beauty, power, and identity. But there's a deeper story here, a story about how religion, philosophy, and social change have shaped the way artists portray the female nude, and how these ideas have redefined the male gaze. In prehistoric times, figures like the Venus of Willendorf symbolized fertility and life. These early depictions weren't about desire. They were sacred, celebrating the power of reproduction. But as civilizations developed, the nude began to reflect more complex ideas. Ancient Greek artists like Praxiteles celebrated the body as a perfect creation of the gods. Sculptures like the Aphrodite of Knidos weren't just art. They were statements of divine beauty and human perfection. Then came Christianity, and with it, a drastic shift. The church viewed nudity with suspicion, tying it to sin and shame. Female nudes, like depictions of Eve in the Garden of Eden, symbolized temptation and humanity's fall. During this period, the male gaze was heavily influenced by religious morality. Artists depicted the female nude as a cautionary tale, something to fear or control, rather than admire. But the Renaissance changed everything. With the rediscovery of Greco-Roman art and the rise of humanism, the body was no longer seen as sinful. It was divine. Artists like Botticelli, Michelangelo, and Titian painted nudes that celebrated both physical beauty and spiritual ideals. Take Botticelli's The Birth of Venus. This wasn't just a painting, it was a declaration. Venus, the goddess of love, emerges as an icon of beauty and creation. The male gaze here is reverent, almost worshipful. But there was another side to the Renaissance. Paintings like Titian's Venus of Urbino catered to wealthy male patrons, blending divine beauty with sensual allure. While the male gaze became more elevated, it was still rooted in a patriarchal system where women were often depicted for male pleasure. As we moved into the Baroque and Rococo periods, the male gaze became more indulgent. Artists like Rubens celebrated voluptuous beauty in works like The Three Graces, glorifying abundance and sensuality. The Rococo period took this even further. Fragonard's The Swing is playful, flirtatious, and unapologetically erotic. These works reflected a culture that embraced fantasy and desire. But they also reinforced the idea of women as objects of male pleasure. Then came the Enlightenment, a time when reason and morality reshaped art. Neoclassical artists like Jacques-Louis David used nudes to symbolize virtue and sacrifice, aligning the female form with intellectual ideals rather than raw desire. But even in these more restrained works, the male gaze still defined the narrative. Women were portrayed as symbols, often stripped of individuality, to fit societal ideals of morality and virtue. In the 19th century, everything began to shift. Realist artists like Gustave Courbet rejected idealized beauty, presenting the female body in its raw, unfiltered reality. His controversial work, The Origin of the World, shocked audiences, forcing them to confront the human body as it truly is. Meanwhile, Edouard Manet's Olympia flipped the male gaze on its head. This wasn't a passive, idealized nude. Olympia stared boldly back at her audience, asserting her power and agency. For the first time, the female nude wasn't just an object of male desire. It was a challenge to male dominance. Modernism took the female nude into uncharted territory. Cubists like Picasso deconstructed the body, breaking it into geometric forms and stripping away traditional notions of beauty. Expressionists like Egon Schiele brought a raw emotional intensity to the nude, emphasizing vulnerability and alienation. Here, the male gaze became introspective, reflecting not just desire, but the complexities of human emotion and identity. Today, the narrative is changing once again. Female artists like Jenny Saville reclaim the nude, presenting the body in unidealized, unapologetic ways. Saville's work forces viewers to confront the physicality of the human form, rejecting the objectification of the past. Meanwhile, artists like Kehinde Wiley reimagined classical nudes, placing black bodies at the center of historically white narratives. These works challenge not only the male gaze, but also the Eurocentric traditions that have long dominated art. So, what changed? Religious beliefs once framed nudity as sinful, while humanism celebrated it as divine. Enlightenment thinkers pushed for rationality and virtue, while modernists questioned the very concept of beauty. And let's not forget the feminist movement, which has reshaped how we see and represent women in art. These shifts in religious, philosophical, and social ideas have fundamentally changed the male gaze, from one of objectification to one of confrontation, collaboration, and even respect. The story of nude art is the story of us. It's a journey through morality, beauty, and power. As ideas evolve, so too does the way we see the human form and ourselves. So what do you think? How have changing ideas about religion, philosophy, and society reshaped the way we view the nude? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the fascinating world of art history.